Okay, so I'm just starting to record now and I'll introduce myself. I'm Shauna and I'm doing my dissertation on an exploration into the role of customer experience management within the wedding sector. So basically, customer experience is a strategy that focuses the operations and processes of a business around the needs of the individual customer. So how important do you think customer experience management is within the wedding sector?
I think it's very important. Like where I'm working, it's just exclusively venue, so it's a wedding venue. They would have it there as like for the day, so there's nothing else going on. But then within the place, there's like 5 or 6 wedding coordinators. So each customer that, as soon as they inquired, they would be allocated a coordinator straight away. So as long as like that person didn't leave or whatever, they would have that coordinator throughout the whole process. But then, like, you would have brides ring and they're so stressed and they don't know what to do. But like in terms of customer service, I think being a coordinator, like, it helps them, like, because they wouldn't know a lot of the time. I don't know if I'm answering your question actually, I think I'm just ranting.
No,
but
go on.
like, they sort of just guide them through the process, because so many people do get so stressed. So they tell them what needs to be done, like they'd give them a list of suppliers or potential suppliers. They'd like confirm with suppliers just to make the whole process much easier for them, especially since they are usually spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Perfect. Anyone else think customer experience management is important within the wedding sector?
Well, yeah, like where I did my placement, Frog Prince, what they do at the very start, if someone inquires, they bring them in and you literally tell them exactly what you want, how you've always imagined your wedding day, and what kind of, even from like what type of flowers you think you might have, your Pinterest board on your wedding, every single thing you might ever have imagined about your wedding, they want to know. And obviously that's totally the customer. It's what the customer wants that they tell the coordinators, and then they go from there. So yeah, obviously.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Anyone else have anything?
Okay.
Yeah.
We do, so we're like a wedding planning and decor company, so as that, like, we're all about fulfilling that experience on the day and in the lead up to the wedding. And especially for, say, like, we do the wedding planning, so we start off in the bride's house with the bride, and like that is kind of to put her at ease, to put the groom at ease, and like we meet them all at the church, make sure everyone gets into the church, make sure her dress is perfect, like, you know, she has deodorant, like you're literally doing every little thing to make sure like that experience is the best it can be for her on that day. And yeah, no, just customer experience is like the main focus of a wedding. Like, it's all about the guests and how the guests want to feel on the day as well. Like, you have to consider everyone, and especially if you're going into hotels as well, you really have to work with hotels in creating the experience. Like, you have to see where the hotel are coming from as well. Like, you can't be going in just thinking, oh, we're going to run this show. Like, you have to work with everyone in the team.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So my next question is leading on to touch points. So touch points are basically like every interaction that you have with the couple throughout their entire kind of planning process. So the first question is, what do you think are the most important and meaningful touch points for a couple while planning the wedding? So the most important moments that they kind of have with, like, interactions that they have, like what's most important for them to kind of get out of the experience with the wedding planner or with supervisors or whatever.
I think like building a relationship with your coordinator or planner is definitely so important. Like I've even just seen like couples who obviously, like, you know, people just sometimes don't match, or like, you know, different personalities, whatever, not even like a disliking, but sometimes you just don't really get on too well, or you can't really understand someone. But like, for if you have a coordinator or planner, if you want to just feel like you can even relate to them on some level, or just feel like they're in some sort of same level as you, so you have that relationship. Otherwise it's not going to work, you're not going to feel comfortable, you're not going to trust them. So I think it's so important, like, especially at the beginning, because like, even like in terms of like where we work, if that relationship is bad from the start, that could be the make or break for them deciding to go with us. So like, yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, like even like I'd say even as the touch, but like your official website, like if they're going to be researching before they even get to you, that's obviously really important. Like they're looking for something completely different. Like everyone wants their day to be different and unique to them. So I think that's definitely a big touch point there as well. Before you meet the planner, it's kind of the face before you actually meet the face of the coordinator, that kind of way.
Yeah, that's really good.
I think also like touch points at, like, say, like the wedding fairs and like the wedding journal show. that's really important. Like how a couple like come up to you, like, and how you present yourself and what way you sell your business is like you sell it to them in the first 30 seconds. Like they know whether or not they're gonna go with you.
Yeah.
Like, and you can tell yourself as well whether like
No, it's
yeah,
true.
you can tell. Like, but that's like it's a really important first impression for everything with weddings. Like.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and so do you think that mapping out and planning the touch points can help bridge the gap between a couple's expectations of their wedding day and the actual experience? So throughout the planning process, kind of informing them, like you were saying, they're not able to, or someone said, maybe it was in the last group, but someone said like they might not be able to get everything that they want in the beginning due to like, you know, budgetary things or anything like that. So how do you think like mapping touch points can help kind of let the couple know how they're going, like what's happening on the
Like
day?
kind of like a kind of say like a
Yeah, the plan
yeah.
basically, yeah.
Well, I know a lot of like definitely the hotels anyway would do like their wedding checklists, and they actually provide them with like your wedding brochures and stuff, which basically maps out every time the couple like what basically from a year in from the wedding what the couple need to have done every month or every few weeks. And then basically like from the planning point of view with decor and stuff, you're starting at about 8 weeks out is when you actually go through like the final details with the couple, and then there's like constant meetings with the couple in their showrooms or in hotels and you're basically final details down to everything, and then it's just on the day you won't actually meet the couple unless we're doing on the day planning. But other than that, then it's kind of all before that the
Yeah.
touch points are actually met.
As in, like, when you mean touch points, do you sort of mean like maybe like their expectations or things they may want that you can't do or they can't do?
Yeah, exactly.
So like, yeah, I suppose like we've had people being like, can like ringing up and being like, can we land a helicopter in your venue? And we're like, no. The only reason because there's a farm next door with animals and we'll scare them. But like stuff like that. So like I think even like we had a wedding and there was like a week before it was like the best man. It was like I want to land a helicopter in your venue. And like we had to like ring him about 10 times and be like, you really can't do it. But like we'd have like sort of at the start, like you'd always go through your operation sheet, so from the beginning they'd know what the running of the event would be like, and then on that it would say things like, you know, you can't have like just certain things, even like markers for kids if they draw on just small things, even like not even huge things, but it is important, otherwise like it could even like cause sort of an argument towards the end if they're like, well, you never told me this, and then they'll get stressed and it'll ruin their whole experience. So I do think it is important.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I just so like kind of mapping out the process. So where I worked, like it was mostly it was a florist and a decor company. So we do like table linen, chair covers, we do like stages, flowers, everything. But they also plan. So at the very first meeting, they would come in and again they'd say what they'd want, what kind of flowers, how they'd imagined it, and everything. And then for usually we give like 6-7 months at least, so that you have enough time and you can agree on how everything's going to look. And then getting closer to the time, they would come in again to look at the flowers, to look at to specify or narrow down what the bridesmaids are going to have, what the best men are going to have, what the groomsmen are going to have, what the mother of the bride or mother of the groom is going to have, stuff like that. And then on the day, then obviously you can't really change anything then, but you take it to them then beforehand as well. You go to the bride's house or the groom's house or the venue, and they get to see it again just before we leave. They get to see how everything is and to make sure that they're 100% okay with everything. And that's if we're just doing decoration.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Does anyone else have anything to say before we move on? Okay. Do you think, so kind of leading from that, like the way you have to like manage expectations and everything, do you think that the emotional elements of customer experience management are important within the wedding sector? So do you think it's important to be able to manage not manage the emotions, but like kind of deal with the emotions of the couple?
Yes.
Definitely, yeah.
100%. Like,
You have to have so much patience
Yeah.
for them. Yeah.
it's so like where I am, like it's for accommodation we have say like 35 rooms, so it's like 76 guests or something who can stay actually on site, and then the bride and groom, they'd be given first preference to allocate rooms, so sometimes they may allocate every single room or sometimes they may only allocate a few and let their other guests just ring up and phone like first come first served. well, like you'd have times where like a bride would get so stressed and they'd micromanage their thing and they'd want literally every time someone rings they'd want you to ring them to tell them this guest has called and they're now booked, but it's just not like you can't be doing that, you don't have time. But like they would ring and like you'd have some brides they just ring all the time and they're stressed and like I suppose you kind of need to maybe even get it from the start, like try and get in there and be like, look, this is how it's done, like it will work like this, rather than having them at home in a panic, because they definitely do. Or even like if like someone, a guest rings to book that they don't want to stay and then they're in a panic and they're crying on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't really know if you can manage that though, because I think that's also brides' personalities. Like, because some brides there's no talking to them, like they will micromanage their wedding from start to finish and they don't care, like that's just what they'll do.
Yeah.
But you'll also have that with mothers of the brides as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say fathers of the brides are way
family
worse than
members,
brides.
like last week I had a girl, and sometimes you don't even know yourself because it's not the bride and you can't say, well, did you talk to?
Yeah.
Are you sure you? So like it was, I think a sister of a groom who's ringing and was like, well, they live abroad, so we're all just here trying to plan it for them to make it less stressful. And it's awkward on the phone because you don't want to be like,
You can't.
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I sometimes I think it's almost, it just depends on like
The
brides.
yeah.
I don't know if there are kind of ways to get it. Or to
I
do
think
it.
the most important thing is to reassure them, especially if it's the bride and they ring in and they're like, oh my god, I forgot this, or no, I'm not sure that's what, like this is how many, whatever it is, and you're like, okay, no, we know, you've explained it to us and we can guarantee you that we're going to do it, give 100%, everything will be perfect for you, this is your wedding day. And we had a mother of a bride who was basically trying to take control, and she would ring in almost every day saying, well, no, can you change this to that, or we actually want peonies instead of roses, and then we would have to be like, oh, okay, yeah, we understand that. I would have to talk to, I'm just going to say Karen, her name's not Karen, I'd have to talk to Karen and just to make sure she's 100% okay. This is the mother of the groom, so we were trying to as well be peacemaker, like, okay, this is the mother of the groom and that's the bride and they're having two opposing opinions, but we had to be like, okay, well, it's the bride's and the groom's day, so we just have to make sure they're okay with it, and then we'll come back to you. And then we had a big huge wedding once, and it was a double wedding. It was two twin sisters, and then they were getting married to like obviously we get married, and it was almost because in their culture they're Austrian or something, I think, and in their culture whoever wants can give a speech, can just stand up and give a speech. And one of the grooms is from Australia, and he was like, nope, that is not happening at my wedding, we do not have time for that. And then the brides were like, no, but we have to, it's part of our tradition. And so our main coordinator, the director as well, she had to just be like, okay, we'll see what we can do. It depends on the time, because they wanted fireworks, they had 3 different marquees, they wanted bands, like, so you have to make sure they had enough time for that, and for everyone to just get up and say a speech at any time they wanted. So I think as coordinators, you need to be able to reassure the couples or the bride at any time that everything will be okay.
I think as well, for dealing with like when they are emotional or stressed or whatever, I think you really need to, that's when you need to be flexible, like, and kind of go out of your way. So like if they're stressed about their photographer or they can't contact their photographer, that's when you need to say, okay, like stop, that's fine, I will take care of that for you. So you kind of need to take it on yourself. Like when sometimes you may already have so much on your plate, but it's just kind of what you need to do to get them.
I think you also have to like judge, because some brides will just completely take you for granted. Completely just be like, you do everything, I'll just lay back here and you do this and I'm paying you. So you kind of just need to have like
absolutely.
a weighing scale like of how much you're going to have and then how much you're going to say, no, this is the way we're going with it. You already said it, like, you need to put your foot down.
Yeah, like you need to define like what, like, because for us when we're doing wedding planning, like we have to do basically, like as Mary said, we do like above and beyond for our couples, but you have to when you're doing planning. But then like for decor side of things, like we're only supplying decor. Like we can't do everything everyone wants us to do, like, but like that we do have to be flexible with couples, like you have to keep them happy. And it is really dependent on the couples, like they vary so much.
Some couples you have, they're the easiest couples going, and then others you just can't wait to see them go.
I think, and it was just what you were saying, what Ina was saying about how much we're paying you. So one of the weddings that we had, we were paying a lot. So he felt that the groom, it was one of the grooms, this was the double wedding, he felt that he needed 100% of our main coordinator, which is the director of the company's attention at all times. Like, they were paying a lot, but at the same time, he was always, because you can only contact through Skype and telephone, but at any opportunity that he could make sure that she was doing everything on 100%, he would. And I get it, because it is your wedding day and you do want to make sure it's very special. But at the same time, I think sometimes customers view that because we're paying you, we need 100% of your attention. Never mind the fact that you're running a company, or never mind the fact that you have maybe 20 other couples or brides or grooms or whatever it is. But
It's their day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next kind of part is part 3, and it's about the co-creation experience and how that leads to customer I don't know what it is actually. The relationship between co-creation and customer satisfaction within the wedding sector. So my question is, you've kind of answered these already, but it's like, in your experience, are couples willing to fulfill their role in the co-creation process? So it's kind of like, do they want to, as you were saying, like micromanage it themselves even though they already have like people to help them? Or are they willing to kind of co-create,
As in, like, work with the
Yeah.
coordinator, is it?
That depends
It
on the
depends
couple
on
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
couple again,
yeah, completely.
You'll
Yes,
have some.
most couples though are.
Yeah.
And like most couples will completely trust the coordinator because like it is their job. They obviously know what they're doing. It's more just like the odd one here and there that just like, even though they might trust their coordinator, they're probably like that in every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's not
Yeah.
just their wedding.
Yeah.
That's just how they are. They kind of.
And I think it's the, like, you know, the relationship that they build at the beginning, like you were saying. If they trust you if you sit down with them and they get to know you and you build that relationship and they have that trust and confidence in you, they would be like, okay, yeah, no, obviously I know it's my wedding and I will do my part, but I trust you to do the rest, your job. I think that's very important. So it's always like, it's from the get-go, the start when you first meet them, and or like you said, the site, you look at the site and like, okay, this is a company I think I can trust with my wedding, and then they meet the coordinator and they're like, yes, she will or he will handle my wedding with absolute care and trust, and I trust them. You know, I think that's important from the very start. And I think then from then on they will be willing and cooperative in anything that you need them to do.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so the next question is, do you think information sharing between a wedding planner and a couple is needed to create value in the form of fulfilling and engaging to make a great wedding? So like, do you think that you need from the get-go information from the...
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely,
So
or else you
we-
could end up with like Facet Circus and they'd be like, oh, I think that's what you want.
Yeah.
Just that kind of way that like, you definitely need to be sharing information from day dot.
Okay, and what kind of information do you think you need from...
Even sometimes, like not even on terms of what they want for the wedding, but even sometimes sort of like their like personal information.
Yeah.
Like even stuff like we've had like brides or grooms where like a pair might be sick or one may have like died only like recently or something. So like it's something that you need to keep in mind for their wedding day. So is there anything you can even do on the day to make that a bit like, if someone has died, maybe to make that a bit more, just consider it
Yeah.
and know that they will be thinking of it on their
Yeah.
day. But yeah, no, you do need to know. Just you kind of need, like, if they have expectations, you need to know. Like we also had, I remember we had a client. I can't remember what it was that they thought they wanted, but they thought that they just were getting it, but never actually asked.
Okay.
I think it might have been a free toast or a free something, and they thought that it was just there, but they never mentioned it, and it was never mentioned in a meeting, never on the operation sheet, and everyone at work was like, well, it's not on the sheet, like, how is she expecting it? It's not here, but, like, so it does need to be said. Like, if you're expecting something, you need to say it.
Yeah.
Or, like, if you have a question, you need to ask it rather than just assume and then complain when it's not done. Because you can only do what you know that they want at the end of the day.
I think it's about like, even like from a hotel's point of view, like with food, like they might like a certain, I don't know, dinner or a starter, but like you do have to think, okay, well, like you're gonna have 300 people at your wedding or 200 people at your wedding. So that kind of way, like you have to kind of expectations of the hotel and their personal expectations as well, to that kind of way. So it's kind of I think sharing information from day
I
dot
think
is really
communication
important.
is so key. Like you can't go wrong with something from a hotel perspective. Like it's not just the wedding coordinator, like it's the caterer, the food and beverage department, like the rooms department. Like there's so many different things that like need to be done, and like even with the food, as Ian was saying, like they need to communicate if there's someone that's gluten free, vegetarian, like all of that stuff. There's just so much that goes into like just the food and beverage aspect, like let alone like the wedding planning aspect and like the reception, or like even how you get down from, like, we used to have ceremonies on the beach at the front lawn of the mansion, how you get the bride from there down to, like, just from everything to transport to everything, like,
Yeah.
if you want something done or you want it like done in a specific way, like it just needs to be communicated from the start,
Yeah.
or else it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So my next question is kind of, during the planning process and on the day, what do you think kind of creates value for the couple and what can destroy the value? So what kind of makes them happy and what makes them sad?
Price. I wouldn't say price because a lot of our, obviously roses would be very expensive flowers, and then there's other flowers like peonies that can be grown in Ireland, so they're not as expensive. Obviously importing them and that. A lot of couples come in and they say that they want this and they want that, and then once you drop a quote for them and you send that out off, they're kind of like, whoa, and then they immediately think that, oh my god, they're ripping me off. That's what they think, but it's actually the price of importing all those like 20 dozen roses that you want for your floral arch and your lining the aisle, and so I think price, people don't always immediately know exactly how much flowers cost or how much this costs or that costs, and they in their head they presume that it's going to cost €500, when in fact the actual value is €1,000, or we'll be selling it to you for €800. So I think price is a big one.
I think it's important, but I don't think it's the most important thing. I think like for a wedding, like people go in and it's just like, this is my wedding day. They obviously have like a budget, but I don't think price is the number. I think it's kind of like customer service. I think like it's so important on the day, on the preparation. Like if you call like your wedding planner, they're there. If on the day of your wedding, like at the reception, everything, there's someone there if anything happens. Like for our weddings, there was always a supervisor, always staff in the room. Like you just
like
I
a
always
go-to person.
constantly, constantly like go up to the bride and be like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Like, and like, it wouldn't just, like, you just have to make sure that they're okay if there's anything. Like, I know, like, where we used to have weddings in the ballroom, like, there'd always be an issue with, like, air conditioning, because if there was, like, guests up to 500 people, like, the air conditioning, like, it just gets warm, like, there's nothing you can do, like, it just gets so stuffy. Or, like, we had issues, like, where these kids crashed a wedding, they ran in and they stole alcohol and ran back out, like, kids in the hotel, like, in the ballroom, and, like, it was just important that there was someone in the room like that. Like I was the only person in the room, so like I just like legging it after them, but like there was nothing I could actually do. But like it's just important that there's someone present. That's
the like customer service that came to mind straight away as well. Like so like as Ina said, you'd have someone there on the day to make sure everything's going right. So we'd have our like lead operations manager. So they are like basically just look after the bride and groom where they need to be at certain times. They'll make sure that they're there. Like if the bride doesn't have a drink in their hand, they'll make sure that they do if they want one. Like simple things like that. But even then, like if you're down in the office, like at the moment I'd be doing like check-in and stuff for their guests. So like even stuff like making sure their guests are happy, because if their guests aren't happy, their guests are going to be up at the bride and groom saying, oh, like this has happened, or I'm not happy with my room or whatever, and that's just going to stress them out completely. So even their own guests can ruin their day, and I have seen it happen. I remember one woman wasn't happy. She sent her food back like 3 times, even though we've made sure to be testing like all the food before it goes out. And then because that one guest wasn't happy with her food, she took it upon herself to go around to every single guest and say, do you have any problems with your food? To the whole banquet hall, and then to go up to the bride, and then I think it was the brother and sister of the bride and groom actually went up to the operations manager and said, just so you know, this woman is going around asking people to give her complaints.
God.
Yeah, so and that can like that would ruin your wedding. If one of my guests is doing that, I'd be so pissed off. So like you need to just, I do think customer service, like, and then at the end of the day they're paying a lot, but if they are happy with that, like it's with them forever, like. So I think that is crucial at the end of the day.
And I just skipped a question by accident, so I'm going to go back to it. Do you think there is a certain level of co-creation needed from families, like during the wedding planning process and on the day, or do you think that can stifle? Needed from I didn't actually write it, from families.
Okay, yeah.
So like, do you think that kind of stifles
I think all they need is support, like. I don't think there needs to be any sort of like an implication, an opinion, like it just makes.
I think it's worse.
I think what you want is like support, but not like
Like-
a heavy-handed opinion.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah.
if you want an opinion, you're going to
And
ask
I
your
think the
family
bride
first.
will always have that kind of go-to person, either whether it's her
Yeah.
mom
It
or
is.
like her bridesmaid, her chief bridesmaid.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
her husband isn't really just kind of like, oh, take what you want, that kind of she probably would need that person. But then again, that's why you're there as well, to that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
way.
Sometimes it's always the mother of the bride organising everything
Yes.
more as
Yeah.
well as the bride
Yeah.
anyway, like the bride doesn't want anything got to do with it. Like, I know why, you know, like I'd probably just be like, here, do it. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's kind of like too many cooks in the basket or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I've seen it, like sometimes like I remember at the RDS weddings fair, whatever it was only a few weeks ago. Like there was one bride in particular, and I knew that she wanted her mom doing it because like she was standing there. It was almost as if she wasn't even getting married, like you
Yeah.
know. But like so that's fine. But there was just the mom. She obviously isn't big into planning or whatever, so that's grand. But you'd have like a couple coming in for a viewing, and they have like their family, their neighbours, their cousins, like their nephews. It's like ridiculous. So it's just
Yeah.
too many people. It's like, do you like it? Do you like it? What do you think? And then you have like your uncle asking the most random questions that are irrelevant or not necessary. It's just too much. Like, and then it makes it messy. And like, it's much worse for the coordinator as well because
Yeah.
like it's just
Too many opinions.
Yeah,
to
too
handle.
many opinions.
And you don't, and what I've kind of noticed a lot is that the bride always brings in someone when coming in her to a consultation, and a lot of times it's her sister who may or may not be her maid of honor, and then her mother, and that like a lot of the times the mothers, they do take charge where their daughters
Yeah.
are like slacking, and you can almost see just like, oh mom, do what I can't handle this. So the mother does help the planner a lot. Like in our case, we've had a lot of mothers and maid of honors as well who have said, oh no, she wants this, she wants that, and we know it's what the bride wants. It's just that the bride is stressed and she can't take any more, and she just needs a day where she's not thinking about everything. So she has that her mother, or she has her maid of honor that can help her then do know exactly what she wants, and they can just be then your
Yeah.
To be honest, when I see like a mother coming in, when I see a daughter coming in, obviously if it's like they didn't have anyone else to come in with a grant, but when I see a mother coming in and you know that she's very opinionated, you know, it's just like, straight away you're like, oh no, like,
You know.
yeah, like you don't want them. You're like,
I think it just, like, them type of people just make everyone's life so much harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, almost
And
sometimes
it
they
needs to
can be. I have found they can also be quite rude.
Yeah.
Then maybe they're not rude people, but it's just that they are so like I'm
Mother
taking
of the
charge.
bride. Yeah.
So they can actually be quite rude or kind of like. I mean, like it probably doesn't mean to come across as rude, but they're very like.
They probably feel like they want to be the centre of attention
Yeah.
just as much as the daughter.
Yeah,
or
like
the-
even not, but like slightly aggressive if you get me. Even
Yeah.
it's just in what they're asking, like. So yeah, I think it's just much worse.
And do you think kind of that the bride or the couple's opinion is lost when someone else kind of takes
Yeah,
action like
yeah,
that?
definitely.
But then it's
Yeah.
as the job of a coordinator is to make sure that doesn't happen. So like, obviously if you're having a consultation and she's in with the mother and it's very, like you said, a very passionate mother, you need to make sure that the bride is still having that final say in everything. So his mother said, no, we've decided that we're going to have pink napkins and a silver ribbon around it. The bride, and you have to go back to the bride and say, so is that what you want? Because I remember you saying that you wanted a red ribbon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then obviously to make sure the bride gets that final say, and then calling them, like I know sometimes for some brides that are passive, say it in front of their mother, they might not, but then we always go through everything that they've ordered from us, everything that they want on their wedding day, and we bring them up a week before and we go through that list. So it's their last chance basically again to say that, no, don't mind my mother, don't mind her saying that, I want this. So
It's creating like a paper trail for yourself to like kind of like if anything was to happen that went wrong, you'd be like, well, we did go through it on this day when
Exactly.
this plan was sent to you, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the purpose of the contract is as well,
It's a
basically,
contract,
like, you do go through that then, just say, well look, this is what you've asked for, this is what we're gonna do, and you need to remember on the day, that's what you asked for,
Yeah.
like, so
At the
if
end-
you're not
sorry,
happy with
sorry.
it. No, you're grand.
At the end of the day as well, like it is like also it creates more work for the company. Like even stuff, simple things like accommodation, if you have a list in and then you have the mother of the groom ringing in, being like, this person is no longer staying. You have to say, okay, I'm gonna have to contact the wedding coordinator and the bride and groom and then I'll have to get back to you. So like even stuff like that, like that
Yeah.
all adds up, and then you have less time to actually deal with the bride and grooms of other like weddings or
Yeah.
I think
whatever.
that's the point where you need to be like, no.
Yeah,
We've already established
Yeah.
this. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
and they're so far in that they can't be like, well, I'm gonna go to a different
Sometimes
company.
they want
And
that,
I mean,
that you
it's
just like
you
grab
need
the
to put your
decisions
foot
made
down
and move
and,
on.
yeah, exactly. Someone needs to make the decision for them, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's the role of that coordinator.
Some more hassle than it's worth.
Yeah.
Agree.
Fair enough. Well, that was the last question. So
I think it's almost easier for you as a venue and you have your accommodation on site, and whereas if you're going to, it's easier. No, sorry, harder. I meant when you're a planner and you're going to a hotel and you can say, oh well, unfortunately the hotel already they've finalised it, so there's no changes that can be made. You can literally pass the blame,
yeah.
and do you know what I mean? But for you, like you work on site and you can like literally go ask them then. Like what they're there, go ask them. So I think it's easier for people that are not in a venue that can say, oh no, sorry, everything's finalised. We can't make any more changes apart from the 100 changes you already made. So
Yeah.
Whereas like for us, it's literally like food
Go
to accommodation to
Yeah.
like everything.
Yeah.
Like we just do everything for them. Like so, even their ceremonies and whatever. Same as probably yours.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I did, my God.
it's intense.
Yeah, that's it, guys. So if anyone has any final comments, feel
Or
free to
anything
share.
you want to ask about our venues in particular or workplaces that might
No, I
help?
think like honestly, I think I have everything between
Yeah.
you guys and the other group. So thank you so much for
You're very
participating.
welcome.
I will stop this now and.